Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Aldea. If we have not met, my name is Jake, and I'm so thrilled that you've joined us today. Our moms have a lot of lessons to teach us, right? My mom, yeah, exactly. My mom taught me how to be a good person, but I think even more importantly, she taught me how to pretend to be a good person, which I think can be a more helpful skill at times. I had a friend growing up, and at the time, I didn't really go to church, and he was super involved in his church. So one day, I'm at his house, and my mom comes to pick me up. So I'm standing there at the door with me and my mom, and then on the other side is my friend and his mom. And his mom looks at me, and she says, "Jake, would you like to come to our church's carnival event next week?" And I looked at her, and I looked at my mom, and I looked back at her, and I said, "No." And my mom was mortified. And so we got in the car, and she gave me this invaluable life lesson that I've carried with me to this day. Jake, if you don't want to go to something, you can act like you do, and then you could just cancel later. And that's advice that I still cherish and prize to this day. So my grandmother on my mother's side was born in the Philippines. And so I call her Lola, which is Tagalog for grandmother. And Lola is 81, and she has never been camping in her whole life. And it's kind of a dream and a fantasy of hers, because her favorite type of TV show is the ones where the people go out and try to survive in the wilderness without. And she's the opposite. She's not this. She's the most creature comfort person on the planet, but she loves these TV shows for some reason. And so she said, I just want to go camping. It's my dream. And so the family decided for her 80th birthday, all right, we'll go camping, but we need to ease you into this. So we're just going to go camping in the backyard, and we're going to set up tents in the backyard, and we can't cook using any non-outdoor, so we'll get the camping stove, and we're going to do the whole thing. So whole family's in the backyard, and then at night it gets cold, and Lola sneaks back into the house, leaving the family out in the cold that did all this for her in the first place. Teaching us all the valuable lesson that sometimes you just gotta do what you want to do. You know what I mean? You can't worry too much about other people. No, I'm just kidding. Lastly, you have my grandmother on my dad's side. She passed away almost 10 years ago now. But I have such fond memories of her. Part of that was because she really just let me do whatever I wanted to do. And the thing that I wanted to do most when I would go to her house was I just love this. I would go to her backyard, I would stand in her backyard, and I would survey the backyard as if I was the god of the backyard. So like the grass, that was my land. And the ants, those were my subjects, And as the god of the backyard, the thing I wanted to do more than anything was to flood it with water, which, I don't know, says a lot about what I thought about God. But I would just sit there with the hose and flood the backyard. And as the story goes, one day I turned the hose on her. I think I got drunk with power. I was just like, this is too much. And she says that that's the only time in her life that she ever raised her voice at me. So that's where I learned the lesson. Be slow to anger. As Sylvia said, Mother's Day, it's an interesting day. It doesn't always feel good. Maybe for you, you've looked at the way that we've celebrated Mother's Day, and it's felt narrow, and it's something that you felt that you were outside of. And so maybe it's been hard for you to enjoy. Even if you are a more traditional mother and you haven't felt like you've lived up to these attributes that we sometimes narrowly prize on Mother's Day, you might have felt like you can't really enjoy it or you can't really celebrate it. And here at Aldea, we're all about expanding, breaking the box, breaking the boundaries. And so I love that Sylvia invited us to look at these other ways that we can see mothering. And I love this quote by Oprah. She says, "Biology is the least of what makes someone a mother." See, Oprah is not a biological mother, but think about her energy and how she uses that energy in a myriad of other ways to take care of people and to be a voice and kind of a nurturing, mothering spirit. And I think, yeah, biology certainly can propel you into motherhood, but we know that it's possible to have children and not necessarily be a mother, and we also know that it's possible to have no biological children and still be a mother. And so again, we just make space today for the diverse experiences of motherhood. Sylvia had a wonderful list. I just want to go through a little bit of a list as well to make sure every single person feels covered, celebrated, and made space for today. We make space for adoptive moms, stepmoms, godmothers, mothers in spirit, those who wanted to have children but never did, those who've lost children, those who have great relationships with their children and those who don't, empty nesters, grandparents, animal moms, single fathers who've needed to be both a father and a mother, those who've had difficult relationships with their own mothers, and those who might be expecting new life right now. We hold space for you today. As I was preparing this message, every time I do the those who are expecting new life part, I would always rub my belly instinctively. I don't know why. And I was like, don't do it on the day of. And then I had to tell you about it. I don't know. Where do we get these images of motherhood? They seem to be deeply embedded within us. Carl Jung, he talks about these types of images as archetypes, meaning that they're in our consciousness and they show up throughout history, throughout religion, time and time again. Some of these images are so ubiquitous and recognizable. How about this? Mother Mary. One of the most quintessential images of motherhood. So well known, so recognizable, I think maybe a little too recognizable. People find her in their grilled cheese sometimes. I don't know if you remember this. This was a big deal. I guess we didn't have a lot going on in the news cycle at the time because this was a huge deal at the time. Mother Mary has been found in a grilled cheese. It's real. I mean, I don't, in the sense that this was a big deal was made of this. That's what I mean. But what do you think of when we look at this image, when we think about the Virgin Mary? Humility, obedience. As the story goes, she obeys this difficult mission that is asked of her, not just to take care of Jesus, but ultimately to endure watching him suffer. So, in a sense, in a metaphor, you may relate to the Virgin Mary. If you're a mother here, you don't relate to her in every way, but the Virgin Mary. I'll let it go throughout the room. So. But this is a very powerful image of what it means to be a mother, one that we've held in our culture for a very long time. But what about other parts of the world? This is a Hindu goddess named Kali, another very powerful image of motherhood, but very different from the Virgin Mary. Kali embodies a sort of a righteous anger, a divine feminine rage, a holy, loving wrath. Any mothers out there have had a moment where someone was messing with your kid, You're like, I will end you. I will take you down. You were embodying your inner Kali, right? There you go. And in fact, the worship of Kali is very sacred within the Hindu tradition because of what she embodies, this unique aspect of the Divine Mother. How about we zoom out a little bit more, kind of going into meta-archetypes. You have Mother as Mother Earth, Gaia, the womb of all life, that which holds endless space for us. Think about it. We're her children, and yet in so many ways we've turned on her, and she still nourishes us. We hurt her, we take from her, and she still loves and cares for us. And this, too, is an image and a picture of the Divine Mother. And it really gives way to this understanding that the universe, source, maybe you conceptualize it as God, taking care of you, giving birth, giving life to you. It really gives us this picture of the Divine Mother. We see it through all of these images. Or maybe you need something a little more modern and more recent. Maybe this is a mother picture, kind of the long-suffering, the grounding presence of the family, the moral center. Maybe you just really relate to that hair. It's big hair, and it's blue. Carl Jung, talking about archetypes, said this: the primordial image or archetype is a figure that constantly recurs in the course of history and appears whenever creative fantasy is freely expressed. Essentially, therefore, it is a mythological figure. In each of these images, there is a little piece of human psychology and human fate, a remnant of the joys and sorrows that have been repeated countless times in our ancestral history. These images are expressed again and again and again because they are deep parts of us. And Carl Jung believed that we move in and out of archetypes. We aren't just one archetype all the time, but we shift, we flow, we change. As a mother, you may have experienced this. You may have felt this. You may have felt like you were really embodying your Kali energy, defending your children, or maybe you were the Virgin Mary having to watch a child go through something difficult. Or maybe you've even been Gaia, with this understanding that there are even times where your children are going to hurt you and still you will hold space for them. And what I want to communicate with you today is this. We are all a combo of archetypes. We are all a mixture. We are not static. We don't just stick within one. Because if we get in the mindset that we are just one thing or we're not, then we get into that comparison trap. And I'm sure you mothers have felt this, comparing yourself. Well, I don't look like this idea of a mother that's really supported and really loved by society, and so I just don't feel like I'm enough. And I just want to tell each and every mother in this room today, you, as you are a unique individual, once in a lifetime, 1 in 8 billion expression of the Divine Mother. Don't forget that. The old, as Glennon Doyle says, the old definition of mother doesn't ring true enough. I have stopped thinking of mother as a fixed identity, something you are or you are not, and more of an energy all of us have inside of us that we are either unleashing or not. So what I want to do today is I want to invite a couple mothers onto the stage right now. And these mothers, not every single one of them even has human children, because I want to break down the understanding of what mothering is and to hear from all sides of what it means to be a mother. So would you welcome our panel to the stage today?
Oops. There's a little wrinkle.
Well, hello, ladies.
Hello.
I want to start with, you can introduce yourself. Everyone knows you, but you can introduce yourself anyway. And I want to start with you, Kim. And I want to ask you this. Each one of you brings something unique and different to this panel and to our conversation today. And Kim, you are a grandmother and you're an empty nester. Maybe there's some of you out there are like, the empty nest, it's coming. It's so close. So I want to ask you, how is it for those of you, for everyone else who's wondering what it's like? Would you tell us a little bit?
Yes. So being a grandma is incredible. My daughter and beautiful granddaughter Miriam are both here in the back. And it is so much easier than being a parent. If you could do it first, then a lot of us would be grandparents and never be parents, I think, but it's not possible. Very possible. And it's so much more fun because, you when you're a grandparent and you don't have them necessarily 24/7, so you don't have to do all of the discipline and all of the, I still have to have a life and do my grocery shopping and do the dishes. And when, my granddaughter comes over and stays with me, that's blocked out as like nothing else is going to happen. And so there was a funny day that one time I did have a lot to do. I was preparing a dinner or something, and, Miriam was playing and she was like, Nana. And I'm like, what, baby? I've got to do stuff. And she goes, it's Miriam time. And I think at that point she was 2, and it was just like, wow, she knows what time it is. Like, it's Miriam time. So, yeah, so that's really beautiful. Another thing that's really cool about being a grandparent is getting to see your child be a parent, and that they do things differently, and like I remember like the binky would drop on the floor and I'm just like, let's go clean it, and Carolyn's like, give it to her, she'll get good germ buildup, okay, all right, fine. And then and then another thing that Carolyn did that I never thought of was she literally from infancy would talk to her and rationalize with her and tell her things, and I'm just like, okay, she has no clue as to what you're talking about. And she's be like, you're just upset because you were hungry and it'll be okay. And I'm just like, but she did it all along, and now she's 5, and like this morning she wanted to come with grandma, but Carolyn rationalized with her, and she really does. She said she understands me, and back when infant I'm like, yeah, right, but over time, there was a point, at some point, she understood or knows, so that's beautiful. And then another thing I never did or thought of was she gave her regular food. Like, not a single jar of baby food ever. That child started with like mushing up strawberries, and Carolyn read on the internet, which we didn't have when I was a parent, but young parent. So that's just totally different. But never had a jar of baby food. So those are kind of things about being a grandparent that are amazing, and being a parent of a daughter who's a mom. And then empty nester, it's really fun. One time, it's funny because we had an Easter where both our kids, my son's in the military, so he was out of town. My daughter had moved to another state. She was out of town, so it was an Easter, and just the two of us went on a hike, and I posted about it. And one of my friends that had young children commented and was like, "Oh, I'm so sad for you. I'm so sorry." And I was just like, "Oh no, it's okay." You get together. 40 years ago, we were dating, and then we were young marrieds, and then we were family forever. That's a long period of time when you have kids. And now it's like we're dating again. So we have Jacuzzi Thursdays where it's just the two of us and we debrief our week. And we bought e-bikes and we go to Bruegger's we're making traditions where we go to Bruegger's for breakfast and after a long bike ride in the morning, and just things that are fun. And then I also have more time for better self-care. When I was a mom, you don't have time. That is hard. It's really important, but it's very hard to get that balance, and I have a lot more time of that. So it's just a different phase, a different season. It's not better or worse or sad or happy. I mean, it's just different, and I love it. So.
Thank you. Toni, you are one of the most chill people that I know. I'm taking cool lessons from Toni these days.
We all are.
Yeah, we all are. And yet you also have three of the most excited, curious, energetic boys. Yeah. How? What? Give us your secret. How?
Well, thank you for the compliment, first of all, and it's lucky to have my boys here and my bonus family and my bestie and my tribe. I think one of the things that helped is I was raised and around by a lot of strong women, and so I was watching them and saying, I'm not going to do that. I am going to take that piece and use that, and my grandmother was a total spiritual angel. And then I had foster brothers and sisters that taught me gratitude and had this unique lifestyle where I didn't go to middle school much. I went to Mexico, and so my parents were very different. My mom was a hippie, and my dad was gone a lot of the time. And so I really realized that quality time and being completely present is super important to me, and that's one of my love languages. And with that being said, I was traveling and partying and playing sports, and I realized I wasn't going to be present for my kids if I had my own. I was paid to play with other kids because I did sports for a living and I teach kids sports. And everyone always say, you don't have your own kids. You're so good at this. And I said, that's why I'm good at this, is I don't have my own kids. And so it wasn't until 40 that I was ready to be more selfless, which is what kids need of you. And in that, I know I didn't want to do 8-5. I never did 8-5, actually. I've always been valued time more than resources, and I want abundance in my life in other ways. And so then, we created a family, and I've always done it on my own. But I only work part-time, and I play with kids. But I think I was asking a couple of my friends. They said, no, a lot of moms have a lot of structure. And my thing is tattooed on my arm. I let them be free. So I just create this space where hopefully you're not going to hurt yourself, but you just need to be you, and you need to be free, and whatever that is for you. And I have 3 very different humans, even though 2 are twins. But you are just doing your thing, and I'm going to love you through it, and you need to be free. So that's my saying.
That's awesome. Thank you. Olivia.
Yes.
I didn't know that dog mom was a thing until I met a dog mom. And then I because of that, was roped into being a dog dad. So thank you. You've made me a dog dad, and it's been one of the most rewarding aspects of my life. But
you told me last night that you didn't know that having a dog was more than just having a dog.
Well, I just grew up.
I was like, what?
You know, it was like the way I grew up. It was just like, you know, you had the dog, like the dog's there, you know, and you elevated it to something so different in my life, and so that's why I want to ask you, when and what did it look like for you to start to really realize that you felt that this was who you were, and this was such a deep part of you as being a dog mom, and what did that look like?
Yeah, I think the moment that I held her in my arms, it was like I knew she was my responsibility, and she was mine to love and to hold and take care of. And it was this really interesting, just innate feeling that came up within me, and it just takes over. And it's so fascinating to me, like something that I didn't birth from my own body is something that I am obsessed with and love so much, and can just have such a deep connection with her. And it was really just something that happened within me when I first saw her. So, yeah.
You would save her from a rattlesnake.
Yes, I would save her from a rattlesnake.
All three of you, knowing you all have a unique spirituality, which I love, and what's what I love about this community. Every one of us has a unique take on things. And so I'm curious for each one of you, what is it about your unique spirituality, the way that you see, you know, God, love, the world, reality, that influences the way that you parent?
I'll take this because I have the mic. I think growing up in a very traditional conservative church, and now finding my way here, I've had to do a lot of searching within and going very deep inside, and I've learned how sensitive I am, and that helps me really like pick up and understand what Josie's needs are. And it's, again, like it blows my mind. She can't speak. She can't like tell me exactly what she needs, but yet you know, and you get to know her little sounds and just her facial expressions and all of it. And so I think just that sensitivity, and it just comes through love. So yeah,
well said. Okay, I would say, you know, lots of spiritual teachers out there growing up, and lots of strong women around me. My old school way of learning about how to work with people is the Enneagram. So once I studied the Enneagram more and more, and I know exactly the numbers of my kids, even though I don't want to pigeonhole them, but they are who they are by 5, like full on. So the Enneagram has taught me a lot, but I think that's my ancient teacher, and my more recent teacher is Ted Lasso. And so, yeah, so the ancient would be the Enneagram, learning their personality and letting them be who they are, because people are always going to be who they are. And Ted would say, let them be, or how about be curious, not judgmental.
And then this church, golly, has been here for many years, not in this building, but I've been attending for 26 years. And even before it was love, period, that's the feeling it always was love, period, love no matter what. And so that's kind of just the lens that I looked through spiritually for my kids, is that everyone is the same. We are all equal. No one's better or worse than anyone else. We're all on this journey together, and just love, period. So.
I love that. And now I kind of want to flip this question. What has parenting taught you about spirituality? What is the spiritual, or what are some of the spiritual lessons that have come from this?
Okay, and there's a lot, obviously, but the biggest one for me that rose to the surface had a bunch of other things under it, but it's surrender. I like things nice, neat, organized, timely. I am never late, blah, blah, blah. When you're a parent, all of that goes out the window because you cannot be nice, neat, orderly, and on time. It's very challenging. I'm a control freak, and again, you can control them to a certain extent, but that's a very small extent. So you have to learn to, let go of control. And accept them, just like I said, love period, for who they are, and they will have their own personalities, completely different. I remember recognizing when my son Robert has his own personality at 5. We were at a roller rink, and everybody was going to skate, and they were going to do a contest, and it was like kindergarten through 3rd grade, and he was barely learning to skate. He was falling constantly, and they were going to have a race, and he's like, I'm going to race, and I'm just like, but you're going to lose. I would never have tried. And he's just like, I know, but it'll be fun. And I'm like, he's not me. He's his own little being. So that was that. And then, the other thing about surrender is when you're a parent, there will be challenges. There will be times of pain and grief and loss, and your friends, allow them to help you. And sometimes, like Kevin and Sylvia have been there for us at times when we just needed people to hug us and love us. And so that's that. Surrender.
So well said about community and letting go. And so well said, too, because even though they're humans, a lot of minds don't use their words. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And one thing my lover has pointed out, she got a hug button. And so if they can't use their words, they can just push on that, and then they get a hug. And I'm not very good at that. I'm kind of a dad mom. And so,
really?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'll be back here for Father's Day. Because they already have 3 other moms, kind of, so. But they constantly teach me in the moment if I stay open, and that's me getting out of my own way, because that's what kids constantly do, and they teach me more than I ever teach them, especially as a teacher and a coach at their own school. Just to be a witness to their growing up or their day, high-fiving their friends and knowing all their friends, and my son saying, hey, what's that C word? Really important to you? Community? I feel that today, Mom. Yeah. So for me, all of spirituality is about letting go, and that's what kids give you.
That's so good. I think what came up for me was just that we all have a capacity for endless love. Like, it goes on and on and on and on. And I think when you have a being that's so kind of, I don't want to say helpless, but just requires you to give them everything that they need, and she will never learn to ever give herself the things that she needs. And I will be doing that for her whole life. And I think there's just something that is extra special about that, and it's taught me, like, every morning I wake up and I just have so much love for her, and I get to see her, and she's just endless love. And so I think she's really taught me the capacity of love that I have, and that there's always more love to be had and to have. So
if there are cat people out there, we'll make time for you one day. The cow people are like, okay, cool. Can we give a warm round of applause for our moms? Thank you so much. That's it for us today.